The game is No Limit Hold'em, the Cadillac of poker. It's a game that takes a minute to learn and a lifetime to master. To start, each player is dealt 2 cards face down.
Welcome to the channel. Does it feel like it's already been 20 years since we started watching poker shows and since they all opened with somebody telling us, how to play the game of Texas Hold'em, and then some of the shows even had to tell us the ranking of the hands? I mean, how many years did that go on for? We must have been pretty dumb back then, huh? But now we can look back nostalgically and see, well, we're pretty smart. We know the ranking of the hands, and we know how the game's played. So you can say what you want about whether you felt that they needed to do that over and over, but who was the best person, to explain it to us, to explain the rules of the game? Mike Sexton. Mike Sexton was the perfect voice for poker. But more on him in a minute. First, if you liked the video, I'd really appreciate it if you gave it a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed, consider doing so. It really helps the channel. YouTube loves this stuff. Mike Sexton was known as both the ambassador of poker and the voice of poker because of his activism for the game, his love of the game, and being such a likable personality. Most people who didn't start following poker until the 2000s thought that Mike was the voice of poker, and that was pretty much it. But they couldn't have been more wrong. For Mike, playing the game was first and foremost. He loved playing poker. The commentating, the businesses, all the stuff that he was into is all very important to him, but he loved playing the game. Mike was a Buckeye. He was a gymnast for The Ohio State University and spent more time playing poker and bridge than attending class. He joined the Army after college and was assigned to the 82nd Airborne Division. His unit managed to not be sent to Vietnam, so Mike spent whatever free time he had playing cards and teaching ballroom dancing off base. After his Army commitment was over, Mike spent a couple years in sales, like Doyle Brunson. And also like Doyle Brunson, Mike took up poker full-time after that. Mike moved to Vegas in 1985 and played both cash games and tournaments. In addition to playing, Mike got involved in the business side of poker. He started the Tournament of Champions poker event held at the Orleans in Las Vegas. He co-founded Party Poker and famously sold his shares for $15 million before the company went public. Had he held on to them, those shares would have been worth $500 million. What made Mike happiest were his successes at the table. Having arrived in Vegas with $2,500 in his pocket, he managed to build his bankroll and score some early tournament success. He cashed in several WSOP events early in his career and won his only bracelet in 1989's $1,500 limit 7-card stud, high-low 8 or better. Over his lifetime, he had 72 World Series cashes. In addition to announcing for the WPT, Mike played in several tournaments, and he also had several cashes. WPT victory finally came to Mike in the 2016 event in Montreal. In 2009, Sexton co-founded PokerGives.org, a charity that was designed to make it easier for poker players to donate to charitable causes. Since 2015, the charity has become specific to charitable causes in and around Las Vegas. Mike was inducted into the Poker Hall of Fame in 2009. In July of 2020, the WPT Champions Cup was renamed the Mike Sexton WPT Champions Cup. I highly recommend Mike's autobiography, Life's a Gamble, and if you only have time for books during your commute, like me, he narrates it on Audible. It's a great read or listen. I put a link in the description. The voice of poker, Mike Sexton, passed away on September 6, 2020 from prostate cancer. He was 72 years old. Throughout the 2000s, Annie Duke was a regular presence on the poker scene. Having become a professional player in 1994, Annie was well known among the tournament pros, partly because her brother is well-known poker player Howard Lederer, but also because of her results at the table. In 2004, Annie won the WSOP Tournament of Champions and the WSOP bracelet in Omaha High-Low Split. But what she was best known for up until that time was taking 10th place in the 2000 World Series main event while 9 months pregnant. In 2010, she won the NBC National Heads Up Poker Championship. Outside of poker, Annie was involved in the creation of a sitcom about her life. She took second on Celebrity Apprentice and hosted a game show called Annie Duke Takes on the World. Just as she was at the top of the poker world, things turned ugly for Duke, and in 2012, she made a wise decision to put poker behind her. Annie had been involved with Ultimate Bet, one of the online poker sites caught up in the cheating scandals from the late 2000s. Players, including Brad Booth, who is featured later in this video, lost millions of dollars as a result of the criminal activity. Annie claimed to have no knowledge of the God mode functions of the site. Russ Hamilton claimed that Duke used a variation of the God mode function several times. During this time, Annie and well-known tournament director Matt Savage created the Epic Poker League, a series of tournaments that failed to deliver on financial promises made to big-name participants. Since 2012, she's written several books as a motivational speaker, and she also works with an investment company in a role that she calls a decision scientist. Okay, you tell me, has there ever been a taller WSOP main event winner than Huckleberry Seed? The 1996 bracelet winner measured in at 6'6". Huck Seed was born in the Bay Area city of Santa Clara, but was raised in Montana. College brought him back to California, where he attended the California Institute of Technology's electrical engineering program. But he didn't graduate, and if you watch any of these episodes, you'll know why. Poker. He left the school in 1989 and didn't return. Huck was never one to brag or call attention to himself. He just won. A lot. He's won 4 World Series bracelets, including the main event in 1996. He made the final table in 1999 and finished 6th. He won the 2009 NBC Heads Up Poker Championship. He won the 2010 WSOP Tournament Champions. Huck was known for his love of prop bets. He once famously bet Phil Hellmuth that he could float in any body of water for 24 hours. They bet $50,000 on it, and reportedly there was a $5,000 out, so Huck didn't have to do the bet, but he just had to pay Phil $5,000, which is what he did. But Huck usually went through on his prop bets, and I could go through many of them, but the video would wind up being about 30 minutes. So look him up, Huck Seed Prop Bets. It's really worth the read. Seed was inducted into the Poker Hall of Fame in 2020. Unlike most of the players in this video, Huck seems to be, still a private person, and he's kind of a hard guy to nail down as to what he's up to today. I did read that he's involved in some sort of cryptocurrency thing, like a lot of the former players are. If you have any information and want to share it, feel free to comment below. When Chris Moneymaker won the main event in 2003, many in the poker community used terms like luck box to describe his win. When Chris won, there were 839 entries in the tournament. Jamie Gold won the event in 2006, just 3 years later, and there were 10 times the number of entries, 8,773. And guess what? The term luck box was used at least 10 times more to describe Gold's win. With few exceptions, Gold was seen as the first of the truly lucky winners who used a great run of cards to win the main event. While Hatcham, Raymer, Moneymaker all had luck on their side, it was Gold who exhibited this all-or-nothing attitude and managed to win. Jamie Gold started life as Jamie Usher. Gold replaced Usher when his mother remarried. Jamie grew up in New Jersey and graduated from the State University of New York, Albany in 1991. He then moved to Los Angeles, where he studied entertainment law at UCLA. Gold started his professional life as a talent agent, but moved into the production side of the entertainment industry. He turned a recreational interest in poker into something more serious while working on a show that included Johnny Chan and Chris Moneymaker. Chan helped Jamie with his game, and Jamie started playing tournaments. Prior to his 2006 main event win, Jamie had some success at MTTs. Say what you want about his style of play, but Gold did have a knack in that one tournament in 2006 of putting both amateurs and professionals to the test, putting himself in a position where their chips were at risk and not his. It worked for him in 2006, and as we found out, once was kind of enough. It's not one of those things you're going to get away with more than once, and that's what happened to Jamie. After his victory in the $12 million first prize, it came out that he had a staking deal involving Bodog Entertainment and Crispin Lizer, who acted as a facilitator in exchange for half of Jamie's winnings. When Jamie won, Lizer expected his $6 million and instead got crickets from Jamie. It took a lawsuit and a judge's ruling to freeze the $6 million in an interest-bearing account because of the likelihood that Lizer would prevail in his lawsuit for Gold to finally agree to settle the case. Since the 2006 victory, Jamie just hasn't been able to recapture the magic. He's cashed at a few smaller buy-in tournaments, but outside of that, really nothing. Since 2006, he claims to have focused his attention primarily on his career as a film and television producer. His IMDb credits show very little, with most being him appearing as himself on poker shows. There's one producer credit for a film that's in pre-production. In their never-ending drive to be mediocre, the Tropicana renamed their poker room the Jamie Gold Poker Room. Players were told that they could have the opportunity to play with Jamie for as little as $100. But Gold's association with the Tropicana only lasted a couple of months. Today, Gold reportedly lives in Malibu. He seems to focus more energy these days on sports betting and he's an advisor for a site called Simwin. Do you remember the stories of Brad Booth living at Bellagio? It was a big deal on 2+2 and other poker forums. Booth spent about $25,000 a month just to live where he played 200, 400, no limit. He did that for 18 months before moving out. He claims he only missed about 70 days of playing in 20 years of playing poker. First in Vancouver, Canada, and then in the United States. He got his nickname of Yukon after spending some time in the Yukon playing every day. Brad had few live tournament results. He spent most of his time playing cash games, and the games he played at Bellagio won him millions of dollars in the early and mid-2000s. Casual fans will know him best for an appearance on High Stakes Poker where he bought in for $1 million. He famously got Phil Ivey to fold pocket kings while he held a 4 high. People still argue whether the bluff was that epic. Hint, it wasn't. Unfortunately, as the 2000s unfolded, things went south for Brad. He claims he lost millions of dollars playing high stakes online during the ultimate bet scandal that I mentioned earlier. He reportedly lost over $4 million playing and possibly $2 million as a result of the scandal. Booth ran up debts to other players that he just couldn't pay back. In July of 2020, Booth was reported missing by family and friends. He reportedly went camping outside of Reno, and supposedly he packed for like a couple days' supplies, but he wound up being gone for 2 months. His family said that he was taking time for himself. To me, Brad always seemed like a nice guy, and he was one of those people that really experienced, the highs and the crushing lows of poker. Let's just hope that things are going well for Brad, and that he really did take time for himself, and it's helping him in his next chapter of his life. Clonie was named Cyclonia by her parents because she was born while a tornado was passing through Florida at the time. It wouldn't be a stretch to say that the name is fitting when you look at her poker career. Prior to poker, Clonie was a basketball player and track standout in Oklahoma. In track, she was 7th in the state in high jump. At 15, she won the Miss Teen McAllister contest. After moving to Texas, she took up poker. In 2002, Clonie took 10th in the WPT Costa Rica Classic. She was then invited for their first Ladies' Night event in 2003 that she won. She was a regular on the WPT, and she also played several World Series events, cashing in some. According to the Hendon Mob, her tournament winnings are just over $1.6 million. Clonie was part of the first group of professional players to be signed as a Full Tilt pro. When she was dropped by Full Tilt in 2008, she sued for $40 million, claiming that she was due a 1% share of the company. Named in her suit were also Full Tilt pros Chris Jesus Ferguson, Howard Lederer, Jennifer Harmon, and Andy Block. I'm not a lawyer, and I would never give out legal advice, but it seems to me that where her suit failed was that Clonie thought she was more to the company than she was actually worth. She had a verbal agreement as to what her, the so-called percentage of the company that she owned. But the reason it was dropped was she wasn't a partner. In a partnership, typically, you pay in money and you become a part owner of the company. She didn't pay money to the company. She was hired hand. They paid her for her, appearances and all that, and that was it. So that's why her 1% suit really didn't have any merit. Now 51, Clonie was last seen working with a site called Delio Webcam Poker. It's a site that lets you play poker and have your webcam on. Wow. Whatever. Anyway, they're on Twitch if you're interested in seeing what's there and if Clonie's still involved or not. But, best of luck to Clonie. Not all players gain exposure or notoriety based on talent. Some, like Shawn Sheikan, gain exposure and invitations to events they should never have been invited to simply by being arrogant, rude, or both. The poker world knows of Sheikan because of his table manners, or lack of them. His run-ins with Mike Matusow during the 2005 World Series main event were on full display for the ESPN cameras. That was enough to get him invited to shows like Poker After Dark and NBC's National Heads Up Tournament. Talent was secondary. Only after Shawn became ESPN famous did his checkered past come to light. Born in Iran in 1969, Shawn came to the United States and made a life for himself in Las Vegas as the owner of a chain of retail and tattoo stores. But Shawn's also familiar to the Clark County court system. Shawn served 9 months in prison for a sexual battery conviction. Shawn was involved with a 17-year-old minor. In 2007, Shawn was briefly detained by Immigration and Customs Enforcement for a violation of his immigration status related to the case. See, up until the George W. Bush administration, little had been done by ICE to hunt down and deport those immigrants that had been convicted of a sex crime. Shawn was arrested. He spent a week in detention, basically. And when his hearing came up, for some reason, the judge said, no, it's okay, you can stay. Going back to 1999, Shawn was also involved in the death of a passenger in a car accident. Shawn's Mercedes was reportedly driving way too fast for rainy conditions, and the resulting accident killed a 91-year-old passenger in the Lincoln Continental that he hit. It sent Shawn and the 61-year-old driver of the Continental to the hospital. In 2011, Shawn was tossed from the Aria poker room after getting into fights with several players there. Todd Brunson tweeted, "Shawn Sheikan in the game. He brags he doesn't owe a single person on the planet. Asked me to verify. Turns out he owes 2 of the 4 here." Sheikan also got involved in verbal altercations with David Viffer Pete and John Monette. I hope you enjoy watching these videos as much as I enjoy making them, because believe me, for me, it's a lot of fun. Please leave your comments. Your comments help drive the series. Like, subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one.